We're doing the sake first, eh?
Yeah, let's do sake. Well, we probably should do sake first, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a rule?
I don't know. I'm just saying. I think we'll pay for it.
Sake is the only alcohol that doesn't give me a hangover.
Really?
Yeah, for him, it's like my favorite drink.
I've gotten blitzed on sake, and the next day I am
Feel fine.
I'm not comatose, which is
So
very
like rice liquor is okay.
Baijiu,
What about soju?
Baijiu will kill me. Soju's okay. It's got a lot of sugar in it, though. you know?
Yeah, soju's not
All right.
as pure, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome back, Matt. Tice.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, for inviting us.
And away we go.
How's it? Is it okay?
It's okay. Yeah. No, this is.
It should be hot, like scalding.
Shut
I want it to burn my. I normally tell the people, I'm like, I want my mouth to be hurting.
Nah,
and they look at me with
cold sake
and they
is
look
the
at
way
me
to go.
with disdain.
All right, wait, let's. We're gonna pour out some whiskey just as we talk and sip. Would you like some, Tice? Just to sip
I'll try
some?
some out. I'll try some out.
So this is made here in China.
You know, I was thinking like it'd be nice to bring you a bottle of whiskey or bourbon or something like that.
It'd be nice for you not to come empty-handed, but you know.
And that wraps it up, folks.
Get the hell out
Get out of here.
That's it.
Matt,
Yeah.
it's awesome when you're back in town. When
cool,
I heard
man.
you were back in China, how many years has it been since you were
3.
last? Has it been 3 years?
It's been 3 years.
It feels like longer than 3 years. So much more has happened.
Absence makes the heart go fonder. You know? So I can understand.
So just to give some people some context, the last time we had you on the show, you came by our studio, which was in my apartment at that time, with all your luggage in tow. And right after we recorded the show, you were off to the airport, and that's when you officially left China, where you moved out of China,
Yeah.
and now you're back.
Yeah.
Catch me up, man. What have you been up to?
Well, first of all, you when you remind me of that period of time,
Yeah.
the thing that as far as what I do, which is like video production and making videos and vlogging and stuff like that. I remember going to the airport in the point from leaving China to arriving into the States. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I made a video about how I escaped China? You know, like, wouldn't it be funny?
like a parody?
Like a parody, but you got to sell a parody. You got to be somewhat like convincing. So I'm like, you know, okay, guys, I've finally done it. You know, I finally got away. You know, I finally did it. And I'm wearing my mask, you know, because it was still, we were still deep into the COVID, especially in the airports. And I'm like, oh, I finally did it. It's so scary. It's so scary there. And I finally got away. And I got more hate on that video because I think what happened is people watched like the first few minutes and then they before the punchline, they like, he jumped the shark. He pulled a Sturzel. He's out of here. You know,
thought you were serious.
Yeah. They really thought I was serious.
Oh.
And I lost some subscribers, and there was like it was really angry. And then there was the whole, you're leaving your wife and daughter. You know, you're a bad human being. And there was just like a pile of, anyways. So that's how it started my exodus of China back to the States. But geez, it's tough because it's been so many things. I went to the you and me talked about wanting me. I talked about van life, right?
Yeah.
Like
so you were telling us your plans that when you were going to go back to the States, you were going to get a van, you were going to convert the van and just travel around.
Yeah.
So I followed you for a bit. I know like you went to, you got your trike back, right? And then you kind of went around. You were like in Italy, you were like throughout Europe.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know, like, so give me the rundown. Like,
okay, so I left here and with the intention of continuing a journey, whatever that journey might be. You know, I was cycling around the world and my trike at the time was stuck in Kuala Lumpur. I couldn't get it. The shipping and logistics was sort of crazy. And so I was like, well, if I can't get my trike, I'm going to try and do something else. And I had traveled around China a lot during the COVID period. Like it was bad for a lot of people, but it was good for me because it was like I sort of had a freedom to roam around China and see some places in unique ways because they weren't like, there wasn't tons of tourism piling into China like it normally does. So it was sort of a unique perspective. And so I went to the States with the idea that I was going to continue my journey sort of in reverse. And instead of going from China to America, I was going to go from America and start working my way towards China. And so I had and answer a question. A lot of people, wonder, like, where does my money come from, especially to buy the van and do all these kind of things? Well, my grandma and grandpa died shortly after my dad died. And so there was inheritance there, and there was like a stipulation that they wanted to see me live life. They didn't want to see me just like hang on to that money, like live with it, like do something with it substantial. So I was thinking maybe I could take, some of that money and buy a vehicle. And then instead of loading up the trike and a bike or whatever I was riding at the time and trying to like make videos ad hoc while I'm, interviewing somebody on the side of the road or inside of a hostel, and you can't really do that sort of travel in America anyway, because there's not a lot of hostels. The cost of going from hotel to hotel could rack up. So I was like, why don't I just build a studio on wheels and then take that around the world? And then as I meet people, I talk to them. And I'd watch those YouTube videos of people fixing up their vans,
Yeah.
and it's like a time lapse, where basically from raw van to end, it takes about like 30 seconds. And I was like, yeah, I could probably do it in about 4 minutes, So I'd take a little longer,
Easy
So it was around the time of the chip shortage, so I couldn't find a vehicle. And so I was looking for, because that there was a chip shortage at the time, and people weren't selling the microchips for the cars were rare. So like there was no way people were selling these vehicles because there was like supply and demand. There was no supply. And I found a van. It was in Texas, so I flew to Texas and bought this Ford Transit 350 HD with an extended, box, high roof. I mean, it was exactly what I wanted. Didn't have any windows. It was like a windowless white van. And I was like, perfect. I'm going to build this into my dream roaming traveling tool, And so I spent a lot of money on the van. It was like 60 grand, 65 grand for the van itself. And then I started contacting suppliers that made different things. And I was leveraging my YouTube and TikTok community numbers to try to encourage sponsorships, say, hey, I got a lot of subscribers. I could give you some exposure. If you're interested, give me a discount, or I could. And then I was like, I'm not interested in you just sending me something. I want to go to your place, and then I'll go there, and then you could show me about your company, and then I can move to the next place, and on and on and on. So I created this tour where I was driving around the United States picking up all these things for the van, and that went pretty well. That went really well.
You got a lot of support.
And do you know what overlanding is?
No.
Justin, overlanding is it's like RV life, like van life or RV life. People take massive, Yellowstone National Park has their own ambulance type, where the tires are designed to go. It's designed to go off road. If they have a medical emergency, they're like military almost vehicles, and they will take these vehicles and convert them into these living spaces, and then they will take them in America they call them BLM, their Bureau of Land Management.
Okay.
There's a multiple acronym.
That's not the first BLM that comes to mind.
BLM. Now BLM to me means Bureau of Land Management. You know. And basically, they're public land that has nothing on it, no facilities, and it's open to camp there. It's just open to the public. If you're American, you can use any BLM land for, purposes, just as long as you leave it the way that you arrived there, right? So take care of the land.
So that's where most people who are living van life, they camp out and stuff.
If they have off-grid living capabilities, if they don't need to plug into power, if they have solar panels, if they've got a big battery system and all of this kind of stuff. And this is going to become real popular in the States, building out these things, especially during COVID. It was really popular because people wanted to get off grid. They didn't want to be around other people. They wanted to be away, whether it was because they thought the virus was bad or whether they thought the people that thought the virus was bad were bad. There was all sides of that thing. They just wanted to get away. As a matter of fact, a lot of the hardcore Trumpers are going off on the grid, and then they're on their own, And so I traveled around. I started building out the van, and then the building out the van kind of took on a life of its own, and years went by. And I'm like, I lost a lot of steam because the original purpose was to get the van built and then go off on the road. And then finishing the van became its own mission and a lot more than I had intended. I mean, it just was consuming me. Then there was other things that were happening, like Annie and Eva came to the United States. And Dada and Xiao Xiao were going to school in the United States. Dada and Xiao Xiao are my niece and nephew here in China. And so Annie and Eva came. We bought a big old house. Built a big old house, built it from the ground up.
Oh, wow.
And then, once you have a house, then you need a lawn, and then you need a deck. Then there's HOA concerns, and there's taxes, and there's healthcare, and then there's, all of these things that I never was really. I had like zero responsibility when I was traveling around, like on the back of a trike. Annie and Eva were all very well taken care of in China. I came back and visited them frequently, but they had their family in China, and that was their, that they were safe. They were in a safe zone. But in America, I have to cultivate that safe zone for them. Like they're in my country now. So there's a lot of responsibilities and things that were sort of brought in that I was like. Didn't really intend when I was talking to you before I left. I had kind of this idea that I was just going to get a van, jump on it, and keep going. And it's sort of like got away from me.
So that never ended up actually happening?
No, I don't want to ever say never.
You finished the van.
It hasn't. The van is finished.
Okay, so you eventually finished the van.
The van is beautiful. Shit, man, the van is amazing.
But you haven't done van life.
But I haven't done van life yet.
Okay.
I've gone on a couple of little trips, but I don't want to like. Say I'm a van lifer yet, you haven't
earned that badge.
I haven't earned that badge. I'm not going to like flaunt that and say I've lived in China a long time. I can talk pretty proficiently about my life in China, but I'm not. I've done a lot to that van, and I got to imagine that when I do start traveling with that thing, that it's going to like really help to propel the social media channels in the direction of van life and stuff like that, and possibly bring back a lot of the audience that has. Tried to figure out where I am right now, because I think there's a lot of people who are like, what's Matt doing right now? Is there interest there enough for me to watch, So,
I was one of those people. Just
right.
I'd be interested, 3 years have passed, you've lived there, you're like living the life. Like, I mean, you're dealing with housing and Medicare and insurance and family. So, like how has your experience been in the States these past 3 years? Like, what was that like?
The States is not like Asia. I mean, it's like slower. Things are a lot slower. They're a lot more.
Where were you in the States, by the way?
I mean, the tour with the truck, the van went all over the United States. So I was south, north, east, west, all over. But now my home is in southeast Michigan. So, in like the reddest district in all of Michigan. There's a Trump rallies on the corner of my street. Hopefully they'll slow down now. I think they got what they wanted, but
we can get into that too.
Whoa! In watching that from China is surreal a little bit.
I think watching that from anywhere is surreal, right?
yeah. You're right.
It was just a very surreal election
and it
process.
happened so quick too.
I mean, from both sides. Like, it's not even all about Trump. I think it's just the whole thing was just insane. But anyway, I mean, go on.
Yeah. So, I mean, in China, like I'm walking down the streets with Tice and I'm showing him around like my home. He knows Taiwan a lot, but like this is his first real opportunity to see around some of these places.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot about like Ningbo because like that's where you live.
Yeah.
And that's why I was.
But this is your first time in Shanghai?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
First day.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, he's been an avid watcher of me on my YouTube travels for a long time. So we were there was a point in Ningbo where I ran a drone into a bridge and then I had to scuba dive basically into the canal to find it, and there was a shrimp that was like living inside the housing of the drone, and the shrimp was in my drone was somehow the title of the video, And then when Tice found out that that's where the bridge was,
I was starstruck. I was like, "What is this? The bridge? Where this happened?" I was taking pictures. I was like, "Whoa!"
It was funny. It was funny. I was like, "Oh wow, because I've had a lot of people that have seen my videos and I've walked them, seen them in passing, and or if we'd record a podcast or something. But I spent a lot of time with Tice. Like we've been hanging out.
Yeah, we know each other for like 5 years or more at this point.
Wow.
And I didn't realize how much of a fanboy he was of the vlogs. You know what I mean?
Like, you didn't realize he was secretly a stalker who infiltrated your life without
you realize it now. He realizes it now.
I put all my. I counted
That's not creepy at all.
I counted my underwear. I have the exact same number.
Hey man, don't know yet.
You might have swapped them like Indiana Jones.
That is kind of a funny thing to find out like late into a relationship that the person was a huge fan of you to begin with.
I mean, I knew that. I mean, we were friends from the videos. You know.
I reached out to him in video form. Like I knew him from the videos. I was totally inspired by him. He is part of the reason why I ended up in Taiwan or in Asia to begin with.
Okay,
yeah. And at the time, this was like 5 years ago, I was a starting web developer. And I was looking at his website. It was a bit slow, but a little bit outdated. And I just wanted to help him. I didn't ask for any money. I just wanted to gain experience. And I made this little video in my bedroom. And I was like, hey, I'm a web developer and I want to help him out with his website. And that's how the friendship started.
Wow. So you were in the Netherlands at the time, right?
Yes. And it was just like, I think that happened like when I was also cycling through Europe. So that's what we have in common as well. We were both like cycle travel vloggers. I also have my own YouTube channel, and I was also like doing the daily vlog at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Traveling Tice.
Traveling Tice as a channel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, T-I-C.
That's cool. And then through his videos, inspired you to move to Taiwan?
Yeah, so that was when he was making a lot of the China content.
Okay.
Because there was a bit of beef between him and some other YouTubers. And I was just really interested in the real situation. Like, I wanted to find out what was really going on there. And I had a bit of Chinese from high school. So I had a bit of a basis for like Chinese language, and it's been like 6 years. I haven't really done anything with Chinese. And then COVID struck and I was just, a bit bored, and I started learning Chinese again. Mm-hmm. And that's when I went onto YouTube and I was looking for like Mandarin language videos, and they were all from Taiwan. And that got me really interested in like Taiwanese culture and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was like a good 2 years like into COVID to wait for like a visa opportunity for me to go to Taiwan. And that's how I ended up there. Yeah,
nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really can meet a lot of people kind of doing what you do, huh?
It's wild. We were talking there was a guy, we were walking here and walking past People's Square and everything, and there was like a car that pulls up, and the guy in the car is completely oblivious to the world. He's looking at his steering wheel. You know how we get when we're driving, we're just like, whatever, we're going here to there. And then he sort of like looks up and he looks at me, and I give him a big smile. And then he changes, he changes. He pulls himself out of the driving mode and he looks at me, and all of a sudden we exchange a moment where there's like an energy pass between us. And then he's got this huge grin on his face, and the light changes, and I'll never see him again. He's gone. And then I go on my way, and I'll never see him again, and I'm on my way. And like YouTube has allowed me to do a one-sided version of that to people all over the world, like I'm looking at them. I can't see them looking back at me, but they're going to have a grin, or they're going to have a moment where they're going to learn maybe something, or or have just a chuckle or whatever. But I'll share a piece of my life with them, and then they'll turn off the YouTube video and go on their way, and then I will continue on my way.
They'll take that moment with them.
Yeah, and being able to see Tice, who's been a friend of mine for a very long time. And see, like I didn't realize that, he just sort of introduced to me that he moved to China in some part because of, meeting me. And like, that's like, or watching my videos. And that's like a power. That's like a superpower. Mm-hmm. I was in Ningbo the other day, and somebody was calling me, and they were like, I know that you're going to be in Ningbo. I know you're going to be I really want to see you. He's like, okay. So we ended up meeting at Starbucks. And he's like, I don't want to like inflate your ego or anything, but you are the reason why I'm here. It's like I came across your videos and I started learning about China, and then like just seeing how much fun you were having here. I ended up coming, and I came to Ningbo because of you. He's like, I've no regrets. And I'm like, holy shit, that's like, oh man, the ability, even you making these podcasts, giving people at this table an opportunity to tell their story. You're doing that, everybody, and the media of that, any media that's broadcast has the ability to do some really incredible things,
Yeah. Well, I'm not so sure I'm making anyone actually physically move where they're living. I mean, that's big though, right? Because think about it, that's like a big decision. Moving anywhere, especially to a foreign country, that's no small thing. Like there's a lot that has to go into that, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of planning, resources, time, money, mentally, you got to it's a big life decision. And for someone to be inspired to do that, that's no small deal. It's a real impact right there.
Yeah. It's a tangible thing,
Exactly. Serious. So wait, I want to get back to just because I haven't been back to the States in a long time, right? And I always wonder, because we always talk on this show, how much of our perspective are we just like in a bubble looking at the States through media, YouTube videos, whatever it is, right? How much of that, just like how a lot of people who've never been to China, they get a very maybe skewed or exaggerated image or view or an opinion about China because they've never been there. I'm just hoping that's the same thing isn't happening to me in terms of my views about America. How do you feel about the current culture there, society? like what have you kind of picked up just by being there?
Well, I mean, part of my whole idea of the world is that we're all pretty good people, and like I don't want to say like anybody's worse than anywhere else, but the culture in America, that they're politically charged more than anywhere I've ever been. It's like a badge that you wear in a lot of ways. It's like you're driving down the street and you see fuck Joe Biden flags, and then you see, or Brandon, fuck Brandon, or whatever the Joe Brandon thing, and then you'll see Trump signs, and then like it's just kind of one-sided. Not seeing a lot of the other party personally in my area, but there's a lot of like, that's my identity. That's who I am. Is this thing? It's not like a lot of like sitting around the coffee table, at least talking about it, but people are internalizing it and probably
identifying it.
Yeah, and surrounding
like hero
themselves.
worship.
Yeah, surrounding themselves with those people that agree with them. I personally have an interesting situation where Eva goes to public school in America now. Like I'm able to surround myself with a lot of unique perspectives and people. And if you're willing to open your mind to that, you can surround yourself with people who completely disagree with you in a lot of things, but you'll still be buddies. You can still kind of bridge the divide there as long as you kind of have an open mind. I do think that like in America in particular, people are a little bit more compartmentalized because the houses are so damn big. Like my house is enormous, and I got 4 bedrooms in my house, and we only use 2 of them. And Eva doesn't even use the second one. She sleeps in our bed. Like. And I go to Annie. I'm like, you realize we got a huge house, and we're all sleeping in the same bedroom. And we have kitchens, whereas big useful kitchens. Whereas in Asia, I always found myself going out, and because food is fairly cheap, and there's like a lot of places to go, and there's a lot of food variety and things like this, and whereas in America, there's like your meat and potatoes, and then there's your meat and potatoes, and then there's your hamburgers, and then it's not, doesn't necessarily have the wide variety of foods that maybe you can get here. And so I'm like, people like Annie and I, we eat in the house every day, and we have a fairly compartmentalized life, and then we'll visit family, and then we'll come back to the house, and then da. And I mean, I don't know. It's not as what I would say is it's not very exciting, like it's sort of like, you got your Walmart, and then you got your Meijer, and then you got your Kroger. And I live in Southeast Michigan. I mean, people in Boston are going to be living a different segment of the American life, and people in Los Angeles are going to be doing that as well. So it's, I can only talk about the place that I live.
More like suburban life.
Very suburban. Very suburban.
Yeah, that sounds about right for suburban life.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
But I've seen him since he's come back to China. I've seen him light up. Like
really?
he draws a lot of comparison between America and China. And, But it's very interesting to see when he's walking. Like we walked through downtown Shenzhen, and suddenly he says like, I like this. I like the energy. I like the lights. I like things are going on. I like these electric scooters and people walking, and it's chaos, but it works. Like it's harmonic chaos in some ways. And then I really see it, and he's just energized by all the energy around it. I mean, on our walk here, we came from the river, like the Huangpu area where you got the nice view. We walked here, and then he said the same thing. He was like, how can you not be energized by what's going on? We were walking through like a very busy street, and it was like, there were old people, there were young people, and everybody was having a good time. Or, I mean, maybe some people were having a bad day, but like you just see so many different types of people, and that like is a very inspiring thing.
Some people don't like that. There's some people that don't like the tons of people.
Yeah, some people don't like
it.
Being in an urban city, crowded, busy, loud.
Yeah.
I have friends who like they came to visit me, and they're like, I don't know how you do it, and they go back, and this particular friend, he lives in Arizona, and he lives on a ranch. Right, like acres and acres of land before you see your next neighbor.
Heaven to a lot of people.
Yeah, he takes care of his horses. He doesn't like to be in this chaotic urban environment.
Yeah,
which leads me to ask you, in terms of Tice, when you saw Matt's eyes light up, just by being here in the city, how much of that is China related versus if you were to go to any of the big cities, let's say in the States, would you feel that same energy? Would your eyes light up? Would you be pumped about that as well? Is it just being in a city, or is it being in a Chinese city?
Yeah, well, I think there is a part of that just being in the city energy, but don't forget he's also a vlogger. you know, and if the people around him are sort of welcoming a camera, that's like supercharging him, because now he can be relaxed, he can be vlogging around, and people are just like interested, like, oh, what is that? And like, hi, you know, like all that sort of stuff. And he loves that.
You're not walking around Boston putting sticking a camera in people's faces.
My comfort level for this being a vlogger is in Asia so much more relaxed. You know, there's lots of moments I was in the States and people would like give you the stink eye, or they would be like, how, you know, sheltering their kids from the camera, like I'm accosting them with my lens, you know. And I'm not like Tice was. We were walking around Westlake the other day, and this guy comes by, and he's wearing rollerblades, and he's got one of those hip mounted speakers, and it's blasting Chinese music, and he is having
a good time.
He's in his element. He's grabbing strollers away from parents.
with little babies,
babies,
and
living
grandmas
babies
too. Like it was like one,
and he's
like
wheeling
grandma.
them around and dancing, and he's looking at the parents with this big grin on his face, like, and the kid starts screaming, crying, and then he's like, oh, here's your baby back, and and then he comes up to Tice and starts like grabbing Tice and trying to do the waltz with him, you know.
Hey man, I'm European, okay? Like I'm from the Netherlands, where just act normal, you're already crazy enough. It's a Dutch saying.
I can see it in his face. He's like, oh shit, you know. But
enough. Like we're like cola, you know, like, no more.
he didn't stop.
No, he didn't stop for a little bit.
In the States, that guy would have been arrested already.
Well, in the States, they're doing it for different reasons, you know. They're probably high on something or whatever, you know. But Tice was having this sort of like reaction, and I was saying that would have been a fun thing if he would have grabbed me, and I would have, you know. So, but back to the, like what we were talking about, like you know, in America, people are nervous, and then in China, people are like almost overly engaging. You know, and that makes good content. It also makes good feelings, you know, for me as far as life goes, you know. And in America, it just seems like people are way more apprehensive. They're way more apprehensive about like involving themselves in strangers that are doing things, and they feel, you know.
And I think also it's just like a general feeling of maybe shame, because like here you would have like, you know, old people dancing and all of that sort of stuff, or even doing karaoke in the park. I mean, they sound may not be very like nice,
but they belt it out.
They still do it.
Confidence is there,
but the confidence is there, and everybody just like chips in and like enjoys it, you know. And that's what I really love about I think Asia in general, where you got that sort of sentiment.
Well, it's more of a communal society, right?
Yeah.
Many Western countries, not all, but like you know, especially the States is very not communal, and I think the idea of this concern with safety is probably at the top of people's minds a lot in that culture. I mean, I like when I lived there, like you couldn't just like walk up on people and just, you know, there was always this idea of like personal space is also much more valued in America, whereas it's much less of a thing here. And, you know, for a long time, I didn't really know how to feel about that, because I kind of like enjoy my personal space sometimes, especially when it's really crowded. Yeah. You don't want person like just coming right up to you.
If you're not used to it.
Yeah, but there's not that concept of like in America, there's this concept of like we have this like 3-foot radius bubble around us, right? And that's like considered our personal space. And so like we all kind of respect that. Here, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so, it's a very different culturally, and what people are aware of is very different.
Let me tell a story. So Eva went to a school before the one she's going to now. We lived in a few different areas. When Annie and Eva first came, we rented a place for a year, and then we moved into our permanent home. And so they were going to a public school, and there was a shooting at a gas station, like right outside of the school. And the guy got away, and he was on the loose. And so they shut down the whole area. The school was inside that area. Eva was at school. We weren't allowed to get her. We got texts on our phone that said there was a shooting. One of many that we get in the school district. It was like not a week went by that we got a message from the superintendent saying that drugs were found in school, or somebody was dealing in school, or somebody brought a knife to school, or that there was a shooting.
Every week you get a message like this?
Every freaking week, you know. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. But in this case, the guy was on the loose. He had a gun. He was armed, and so the police put out a message to everybody saying lockdown. So Eva was in a class. I think there's probably like 23 kids in her class, and they split half of them, and half went into a closet, and the other half went into another closet. They closed the doors, locked them, turned off the lights, and they sat in those closets waiting to God knows what for 4 hours. And then we got messages finally that was like the guy was apprehended. You can now go to school to pick up your kid. It was like even after the time of the school got out, like they had to sit in this closet. And then we brought Eva home, and me and Annie were talking about how are we going to talk to her? Like, obviously she went through something traumatic, and we're like, honey, are you okay? And she's like, I'm okay. It's just they'd gone through a bunch of drills, so they were ready for it. They went through shooting drills in these schools. She's at elementary, so it's second grade. And then she's like, yeah, but the kids started talking. So I had to tell them that you need to be quiet, or the man is going to come in here and kill us all. And like when she said that, I'm like,
wait, she said that to the other kids?
She said that to the kids, She's a responsible kid. She's smart. And, so she was like, you have to be quiet, or else the man's going to come in here and going to kill us all, And I'm like, why is my daughter even saying these words coming out? The kids should not even say these words coming out of her mouth, especially at 6, 7 years old. It's crazy. What are you talking about, And, I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? America has a real problem with this specific thing, is a real problem. And as even since I left, it was like every few weeks there was like some sort of school shooting or some sort of shooting here or there. Most of them in schools, which is like the worst place that you'd ever want a shooting to be taking place, And then there's just, it's like shooting, apologizing, shooting, apologizing, shooting, apologizing. Oh, we're so sorry. This is, thoughts and prayers, and it's just a cycle of bullshit. It's like, these are our kids, that are in these kind of situations.
I mean, it's getting even worse, right? Because they want to fix it by arming the teachers.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big talk about that. It's going to fix those gun problem. More guns, baby, and it's like a real... That's a real thing, right? Like there's a lot of people in China. Oh, there's a lot of guns in America. Yes, yes. That is certainly not like an overblown statement. It's not like the Wild Wild West. People are shooting themselves, constantly. And in a lot of ways, crime is down in America in many statistics. But like that was a real life situation that happened to me and my family. That was like, this doesn't happen anywhere else. And if it did, it would be like the biggest news, you know what I mean? Like shut down the school. There's a shooting in the area. If that happened here in China, if that happened, anywhere else, I mean, because there's not so many guns. Because if that did happen, there would be, how did that guy get a gun? How did that happen? You know?
I remember when I was growing up in the States, it was like the first major one, Columbine, right? And so at that time, it was the biggest news. Like there was no bigger news than that. It was like mind blown. People were in shock. The whole country was in shock. It was at the same level as like September 11th, right? It was like the whole country shut down. It's like, oh my God, it's only news. And for a while after that, there were other shootings that happened that were also really big news. But I think over time and over the decades, now a mass shooting is like, you really don't even...
It's a Tuesday.
It's crazy.
It's just background noise now.
Yeah,
it doesn't even make the front page. It's just like, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
There was one country I wanted to bring this up. So in Serbia, because they in the 90s went through a war with like the Balkans. That was a big thing. So a lot of people still had guns in their houses just in case, shit hits the fan again. But now they had 2 shootings in Serbia, just like short after each other. And after that last shooting, collectively, the whole country was done with it. So there was a huge gun, what do you call that? Like buyback sort of campaign going on, and everybody chipped in.
Like everyone was on board with it.
Mountains of guns.
Yeah. And the government too. Like they were all collectively just done with it. And I think Australia went through a similar time. I don't know when that was, but I feel like America is the only place where it went the other way.
The opposite.
It went totally the opposite direction.
Yeah, maybe it was Sweden or Switzerland? There was one of those countries. I don't want to like just lump all those countries together, but I forget. Like one country is like the culture is like everyone owns a gun. Everyone, like kids have guns. They're taught to use and handle guns at a very early age. It's part of the culture there. These like gun fairs that everyone participates in. It's like really much part of the culture, but there's no gun violence. And I say that because I'm trying to look at it from all sides. It's like, how much of it is this underlying kind of issue in terms of really just the health of the society rather than just the amount of guns? Obviously, the amount of guns contributes, right? But, there's got to be more to that, right? Than just the guns
I feel like
themselves.
the NRA is a big factor, right? Like they're like the rifle
Of course,
association.
they're a huge
like
lobby.
Yeah. I mean, just in general, like lobbyists, like that sort of like thing is, really.
There's a lot of like it's just a messaging issue. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not sure. I feel like I've heard that story about the country that you're talking to about, but I can't quite place it. But
I think it's Switzerland or something.
I know Canada. Canada has like there's a lot of people that hunt and have guns in Canada. Yeah. And their situation is quite different from ours. You know, and so per capita, and there's certainly something. I think like NRA and this idea that you have to protect yourself with that gun on your hip and you're going to carry that thing, and it's kind of like hyping up of using your weapons. Like, guns don't kill people, people do. And like, well, people are going to hold that gun too, like the gun is the tool, and
I guess just the notion of like self-defense, like having the
like
right to defend yourself.
Keep it on you, keep it on you, have it ready, give it on, give it a gun. And then all of a sudden, now I use it now, and then so there's all this kind of like reactionary like gun use.
Well, it's part of the Constitution. So it's like part of the founding of the country, right? And obviously a lot of these things are outdated, right? Since then. But like, it's just part of the very fabric of, I think, the mindset of what it is to be an American is being able to arm yourself and protect yourself. And there is a part of that personally I do sympathize with a lot. Like I'm generally pretty anti-gun. Like I wouldn't want to own one. But if I were to move back to the States right now, I'd probably get a gun.
Yeah.
Right? Just because like, if everyone else has one, why would I be the one not having one?
Well, the line in the Constitution is about a well-armed militia, a well-regulated
That's true.
militia to, protect against, tyranny, basically, So regulated is in the Constitution, and regulations is one of the things that the NRA and all of these people want to push against. The regulation is one step closer to gun ban, So they're pushing against the words that are in the Constitution, regulation isn't always a bad thing, and especially in the situation where people who are mentally unstable have the access to these guns. And a lot of people will argue against me. Oh, no, we got rules against that. Well, a lot of the people who are mentally unstable are getting these guns. Like the proof's in the pudding, man, and, parents, and luckily, what was it last shooting? They actually sentenced the parents. That actually got sentenced.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, right?
What kind of sentence did they get?
I don't remember, but they certainly got some sort of a punishment, and it was like warranted because they were almost floiting the little bit of regulation that the regulations that are out there. And they were like, "Yeah, son, you can have a gun." And then the school was saying, well, "This kid's a little unstable," and then they just kept ignoring it and letting him have those guns. I mean, they were one of the catalysts for him being able to perform that act, But anyways, that's something I've been exposed to directly while I've been in the States the last 3 years. Has been this just like worsening and worsening and worsening of this like this weird violent act that is performed with this one tool that happens over and over, and murdering school children. It's just quite crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of arguments in the States are framed in this like slippery slope argument. Like you see it in politics all the time, even things, look, I'm not trying to defend Trump, but even things they say about Trump, it's almost framed also in a slippery slope. Like, oh, if you let him do this, it's like one step closer to like fascism and tyranny. And like, so they take like the most extreme thing and use that to justify that any steps that you take in terms of like, let's say regulation or new policies is just taking one step closer to that extreme outcome. that's like really bad, right? So there's always this like thing where every argument is always framed in a slippery slope. And I think that adds a lot of fear and anxiety in general to people living there, where they start thinking in those terms as well. And then when you think in those terms, then there is no nuance anymore in terms of like, oh, well, maybe this regulation is actually good and actually could benefit and swing things the other way. No, everything is framed as, oh, that's just one step closer to this ultimate horrible outcome of like hell. Right?
Well, I do hear that on that side, but it's used a lot on his side as well.
Of course,
you know,
of
like,
course.
like that's his MO. You know,
both sides.
The
Everywhere.
left is you know the devil and the deep
Absolutely.
state, and
Absolutely.
all you know. Kamala Harris will be the end of society as we know it. You know, the brimstone and you know all of that
the
stuff.
end of
It's
democracy.
like, give me
yeah.
a break,
Yeah.
man. It's just gonna be a continuation of boring democratic policies. Which I was sort of hoping for,
Well, that's why
bring back the boring, please, a little bit.
like I just feel like in America, every 4 years, every election cycle, we have like collective amnesia, and we forget that like every sitting president basically comes through on like zero to very few of their promises during their campaign. But every 4 years, we forget that, and we feel like, oh, well, this next guy, he's gonna really change things, and this will be the answer, and this will really set the way. Like we buy back into this hero worship all over again every 4 years. But on the main large track of things, I feel like it doesn't really affect. Like I don't think it affects like in a huge part like foreign policy. I feel like people who decide that are not really necessarily always consulting the president on these things.
I don't think he'll
deeper assumption.
have an influence on like Ukraine and like his relationship with Putin.
I think
is gonna.
I think Trump could, because he is a little bit of an outlier in that he has shown maybe he is willing to go rogue a little bit, and he has this ego where he kind of wants to make the decisions, and he has his. I think he has his perspective on what those things should be. But I think by and large, the president alone, even if he wanted to, won't necessarily have maybe necessarily the power to really upend a lot of the deep-rooted established thinking and
But it's also
agenda.
a long-term sort of trend, because like he's already been in power once, and maybe it doesn't seem like at that moment he has done a lot of changes, but over time, it's slowly going towards a trend where, I mean, I am European, so I'm very concerned about the fact that he doesn't want to support us if we're under attack. Like we've been pretty stupid by making our armies basically as little as possible and spending money on all of our social services and making the lives of the people better, but it's expensive. While America has been like, keeping their defense like global domination like established,
Yeah.
So, but I do think that now with Trump and especially Vice President
JD Vance.
JD Vance, it's going into a general trend where America's just going to isolate itself more and more. I mean, it's not going to be like, the next day he's just going to be like hands free from Europe. There's something there, but I feel like it's going into that direction, and Europe is now like waking up, like, oh shit, we gotta do something. But we're small.
You're left
we're
vulnerable.
We're very right now. We're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
We got a lot of like we have the EU, but it's by no means the same as a United States. Like it's still individual countries. We have individual armies, and it's just gonna take a long time before we can sort of group ourselves into like a big force that can take a power like Russia. So that's from a European perspective. I'm quite concerned of like just like how the general trend is going right now.
I can understand that for sure. Are you frustrated at all with how dependent Europe in general has become on the United States?
I mean,
to begin with, because that's been a long-term thing as well. That's accumulated and changed over the years for sure.
Yeah, totally. I mean, in some ways, like if you dial it back like even 5 years, it sort of makes more sense because the world was in a more like sort of more peaceful. So we were like, all right, let's trade instead of like arming ourselves. So I understand where it was coming from, but I am a bit frustrated indeed that like the EU is not coming closer together. Like that's like my big thing where I'm like, come on, we should really group ourselves, because right now how it's also going in the economy, like for example, AI is a big thing right now. Technological advancement, and the US and China are doing like they're like all in on this, and Europe is like, no, we got to regulate things first. We got to make laws first, GDPR and all of these like different regulations before we can allow you to do AI. You know, there have already been a few like things that like OpenAI has published in the US, but not yet in Europe, because Europe has to figure out their laws first. And we're just, I'm a bit scared that we're just going to end up in this entangled like bureaucratic like process for a long time, and we're just going to miss the boat. You know, we're going to be a museum rather than part of the future. That's my big...
You're going to fall too far behind where there is no catching up anymore.
I mean, you see it already with like the big car manufacturers in Germany, the car brands. They are not doing very well at the moment, you know, like they're closing factories, and then the German, like that car world is going down a bit. So
Now they were already competing with U.S. car makers, and now they have the Chinese automakers to compete with as well.
There's Chinese automakers? I have no idea.
See, I don't know when to take you seriously. When to not.
I mean, I don't know. I was looking out at the streets, and I saw I didn't see any Chinese automakers.
Yeah, you just saw wagons and
there was
horse-drawn carts.
They're like literally outside the door. There is a rice field, like literally outside the door, and then a guy playing an arhu. You know, no, I mean, like when I got out of the airport here, I was expecting to see some more brands of cars and stuff like that. It is insane.
It's
what's
insane.
happened in the last 3 years.
Insane.
Insane, and they are like beautiful cars.
They are nice.
We took it.
What'd you take over here?
I was doing a DD, and I accidentally hit the luxurious button,
Twenza?
the six seater.
Oh, okay, the van.
Like the nice luxurious.
It was like a family car.
Dude.
Like
which one was it? A Maxus?
I can't remember it. What was the logo? It was kind of like the one that had 2 lines and a 1 line in the center. It looked sort of like it was trying to be a Tesla logo. But
okay, I'm not sure.
It might have been Max's. It might have been like
it was freaking really nice. Amazing.
It had a dashboard that was like one like panel. And it had like a panel in the back for the kids, and they had like these independent chairs you can back and forth. You know,
if that was in America, forget about Buicks be gone.
Yeah, that's the thing with.
See you later.
Whenever I mentioned, you know, because I have some friends who are into electric vehicles in the States, and you know, I have family members who don't live in China, and you know they're always asking me, and when I try to tell them about like the electric vehicle like landscape here in China, it always sounds like hyperbole.
Yeah, right. No. It is
like,
real.
Whenever I talk about it, it always sounds like, and I hear it myself. I'm like, if I didn't know any better and I was listening to this, I would think I would be like exaggerating out my ass, right?
George Jetsons, you know, like,
but it's really true.
It is insane.
It's insane. It's insane.
Like we were driving at the Canton Fair, and we were driving to the Canton Fair from the hotel. I'm like, let's just see how many Chinese brands there are. And as we're driving down the road, I'm like, you know, boom. Boom, boom, boom,
another one,
boom, 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 and I'm like, what do you think the percentage is versus foreign brands versus Chinese brands here in China? Is it like,
because that's a tricky differentiation, because a lot of the foreign brands are actually Chinese backed now.
Yeah. Volvo was bought.
Volvo.
You know,
like Chinese brand as in their cars are made here, or
no, like the company got like bought. It's like Chinese owned.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like outright. So in terms of a rough ratio or percentage on the street, how many are Chinese versus
what
foreign?
would you say?
Maybe like a 60-40.
Yeah, we were thinking the same.
You were thinking the same?
60-40. Yeah.
I feel like it used to be a couple years ago, you could say 50-50. Now I think it's 60-40.
Yeah. It's and the brands that you do see are they beautiful.
But I think a lot of what contributes to the 60-40 percentage that I'm assuming or guessing or estimating is also the adoption rate of electric vehicles here, right?
Mm-hmm. And the infrastructure, too.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a much higher adoption rate of electric vehicles. Like you see so many electric vehicles out here.
So many.
And then so less and less ICE cars, like internal combustion engine. So like less and less of those traditional cars, more electric vehicles. If you're to go to other countries, like especially the States, the adoption rate is not even nearly.
Not even close. There's a lot of electric cars in America, but they're nowhere close. Nowhere close to what I've
like
seen
the infrastructure isn't really built out to support that.
Yeah. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's also been very politicized there as well.
Right.
Where here, it's not a political issue.
I mean, until Elon Musk donated $50 million to Trump, and then all of a sudden, did you hear what he said? He's like, I tell you what, I didn't like electric cars, but Elon Musk gave me a $50 million, so I like him a lot. You know, he's like, I'm like, well, I mean, there you go. He straight up tells you exactly the corrupt, style of, like, holy shit. Okay,
But that might be a good thing
talks.
if like electric cars are gonna be
well, there you go.
more boosted, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in Taiwan. He says it's loud as hell over there.
It's crazy. That's one of the main things that I really like here. Just the amount of electric. I'm also electric scooters. You know, you're on the street. You're on busy streets. There's less noise and there's less smell. If I'm in Taiwan, I'm walking. You got these like park areas, but you're right side like one of these like big roads, and they have these like two sections. So you have this like park, and it's like along two roads. It's not nice. It's just like the smell of fuel, the loudness, and everything. Also, even if you're driving on the scooter, you smell it all the time. And here. It's like I can breathe.
I would have thought Taiwan would have be a step ahead of that particular thing.
Yeah,
you see a few like Teslas, but like they're blocking out all of the Chinese manufacturers. Like I haven't seen a BYD or any Chinese car there. So it's still like your Toyota Corolla, those type of cars. A lot of
of course,
gas
all the
cars.
scooters are still gas powered over there. There's a bunch of scooters.
Yeah,
over
you
there
have
as well.
one local brand. It's called Gogoro, which is pretty nice. You got like these takeout batteries, and they got these stations everywhere, so you can take them out. But unless you're in a city, it really doesn't make much sense because there's just not enough infrastructure for it.
He lives in the countryside at Taiwan.
I live. I really live among the rice fields. So yeah.
That's nice though.
I like it.
I can picture that.
Yeah.
After all these so many years like living in a city, like I romanticize about living in the countryside now.
Oh
too.
yeah?
Yeah, but I know for a fact I'll spend 1 week out there and I want to be back in the city. That's just my preference.
You'll get your fill. Yeah. What about you? Where have you been in the last 3 years?
I've been here.
Have you left at all? Like traveled around China or?
I've done a little bit of traveling, just mostly in Asia.
Okay.
What is the biggest difference you've seen over the last 3 years here in China? Like
In China?
Yeah.
Well, I've been gone.
A lot of expats left. That was very noticeable.
An exodus, sort of.
Yeah, there was a big exodus, but at the same time, there are a lot of new expats coming in at the same time, but just from different types of countries than there were before.
Okay.
So you're getting less Americans, less Canadians, people like that. You're getting more people from South America. You're getting more people from Eastern Europe, stuff like that. Yeah, just a kind of a different demographic of expats that were here before, but so it's kind of this like swap. Of course, coming out of the lockdown here, I think a lot of people were in this like collective trauma, I guess, from it. So obviously that affects the economy, affects businesses. You see a lot of small business turnover. A lot of them couldn't survive, but then you see new ones popping up now. So now there's like this new renaissance here of these like new restaurants and these new shops and things that weren't here before, just a couple years ago. I've talked to Howie about this. It's like the second mini renaissance happening in Shanghai. These new entrepreneurs or business owners who are kind of restarting their business, or just brand new people fresh into Shanghai or kind of starting businesses, they're upping the bar now. So I think the standard has been raised, and you see that in the food, in the Western food here. So I feel like there's this new renaissance in that respect.
I was really surprised when I came to China. I mean, I've been bringing him to like all the Western...
Tice introduced me to this like Western brand, this really, really like amazing fine dining experience. And we were walking on our way here, actually. We would have made it on time. Instead, as we crossed the road on the way here before we got to People's Square, Tice said, grab me by the arm. And he's like, stop, please. And I said, well, what are you doing? He's like, sir, he says, we have a possibility of having a culinary experience, the likes of which few on earth have experienced outside of America. And I want to partake amongst the privileged few who have the opportunity to eat this culinary tool of flavor explosion. And I said, well, Tice, let us partake amongst the Chinese community and see how luxurious an experience we can have. And so basically I stuffed a fucking Five Guys sandwich into my mouth and it is still making its way around my innards. And he's like, a Five Guys, I gotta have a Five Guys. I've heard so much about it.
So this was your first time having a Five Guys?
First time ever having a Five Guys.
Yes.
Okay, how'd you think about it?
It was good.
It was good.
It was
Okay.
it was good in the moment.
Yeah.
It was good in the moment. When we walked out of that, we were both like,
That wasn't a
wanna kill
snack, okay?
ourselves.
I just wanted a
We
snack.
wanted a snack. We didn't feel like a big lunch. We wanted a snack. And then I looked at Matt and I was like, he's American. I am not American. I want him to give me an American experience, as in like going to Five Guys and, you know.
Holy crap.
And I didn't make him happy. And it's kind of been a little bit of a trend during this trip because, like,
I've had more hamburgers since I left America and came to China than I have had in America because he wants to have a burger with an American guy.
Look.
Hong Kong, we had burger. Shenzhen, we had burger. Guangzhou, we had a couple of burgers.
And let me get
Ningbo, we
this
had a
straight.
burger.
Every meal, Tice uses that as an excuse to have a burger.
Yeah,
it's because you're American and he wants to have a burger.
Sometimes.
He's killing me.
I mean, that's
He's
one
killing
part,
me.
but the other part is because we're in big cities. I mean, I'm from the Taiwanese countryside. You know, that's where I live. That's where I spent months.
I get it.
So, like, I don't really have access to like good Western food on a daily basis, and I was really surprised actually by, you know, coming back to like the quality of the Western food is really good.
It is good. It was a good Five Guys.
I want to clarify though. When I was saying this Renaissance, I wasn't talking about Five Guys. Like I like Five Guys.
Five Guys,
I
been there for a long time.
I wasn't talking about the commercial change.
But we've also been to like good, like actual good restaurants. Like in Guangzhou, we were at the party
like
pier.
these hole in the wall mom and pop stores like that are doing Western food. Like they're doing a really good job.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat to see. We came up. So when we went to the Canton Fair, and we went up that river, that river that Guangzhou is like nestled against, and man, oh man, if you really want to get an idea of the power of import-export in this country, like it was just because I had been involved in like shipping and logistics and my job and everything, you know, and I use ports all the time, you know, and it was FOB this or, you know, this or that, and then you're dealing with container loads going in and out of each port and things like that. But when we were sailing up that river, and we just started
a parade of like freighters,
just counting the gantries, you know, the
cranes just didn't stop.
And gantries.
Yeah.
I mean, like thousands of them.
Yeah.
And Guangzhou port is what, the 6th largest?
Yeah.
Which one's the first largest? Is it
Ningbo.
Shanghai?
It's
Ningbo
the
and
first
Shanghai,
largest?
I think 1 and 2.
Yeah, Shanghai's up there too, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
world's,
If I couldn't think of anything bigger than what I saw on the river, and that was the 6th.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And like Tice, you said, what did you say? How like you got a real perspective of
well, like there's sometimes they're saying like China now, but tomorrow it's gonna be Vietnam, and like it's gonna shift. But I don't really think
how
it's
are you
gonna
move
shift.
that? You can't relocate
China
that power.
is like set up for this trading. They are like they have it all. You know, they're making it all, and that was like just a physical like
manifestation.
Manifestation, and it went on like the ferry was about 3 hours?
All 3 hours
for a good 2 hours. Out of those 3 hours, it was just ports that we saw. You know.
I mean, we went to Yiwu. Have you been to Yiwu?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a while ago.
Have you usually been to the market, like Futian Market, and walked around?
Yeah, you go sourcing there.
Yeah. I mean, like we were at a point, and Tice was looking down a hallway, and it looked like some sort of a Twilight Zone where the hall never ends. You know, like it just goes on, and then you turn 90 degrees and looked at the hall next to you, and that one never ended. And you're like, you know, you're thinking of the directions, and like you're like, holy shit, I'm in like a metropolis, a city.
Yeah.
That's a building. That's each 10-foot section is another product represented by another factory who hires probably 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 people in some part of China that is shipping their goods to this EU little hole, little section, little bit. You know, like each one of those things is its own microcosm, and you're like, and it's going on for like miles and miles, and it's like I've been to Yiwu before, but it was just like sort of like at that intersection, which are like roads, they're like little roads, you know,
they all got
and
like street names and
you're
numbers
like,
and everything.
Holy, you know, I've just had a few of those because I've been in America for 3 years. I sort of been walking my opinion, my objectivity back to the American style, you know, so. It was kind of nice because I'm shocked by things again, you know, like I'm like, you know, constantly being surprised. And I like that, you know.
I found it also quite interesting. There's like a big Middle Eastern presence there. Like we ate at a Turkish restaurant, was like great
Sultan.
Turkish food.
Yeah, it was like halal, like yeah.
But that was like Yiwu was like a very interesting place to go to. It was
a melting pot, right? And then you have like Middle Asia there, like business people doing like, you know, it's just the world like kind of where the whole world connects.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And I had never heard of it before coming to Canton Fair. Like our chapter was going to the Canton Fair, and then like I think it was Annie was saying like, yeah, we should go to you should go to EWU. And I was like, what is EWU?
It's like a whole universe that you never heard of.
Right.
Yeah, like you're thinking like, you know, if I buy a product, that company is probably making that product, right? And now we went to like the back end of like how basically trade works, you know, and that was a very, very interesting insight for me.
Like if you had an idea for a brand that revolved around camping, you know, you could go to EWU and establish relationships with the company that makes the tent, and you'd say, I want my tent this way, with my logo at this part and packaged in this way. And then you'd go to the next company that makes walking sticks and you'd say, I want that. And you could build an entire brand of your own and contractually make sure that they don't talk about your products lines to their public. And you could literally off-site all of the manufacturing of your entire brand. And then when you sell that in a store in America, they would just assume that that's all your stuff that you made. And that, you know what I mean? Like most consumers in America look at things and think that the company with the name on the brand is the company that makes that thing. And that's actually quite rare, you know?
They have no idea what is actually happening.
Yeah, it's coming from a freaking town in China, you know?
And you get fooled. And that's why I think a lot of brands back, you know, well, a lot of brands in general, but certainly a lot of brands back in the States, they put so much more emphasis on the branding and packaging and the marketing language and everything like that, because that's the real differentiator is how do you package yourself? How do you market yourself? Because at the end of the day, a lot of these things are like coming from the same sources, like more or less.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right. It takes like, you know, you have some companies who are really kind of trying to break that mold and trying to do things yourselves, but it's really difficult. And as the buyer or the consumer, you're going to pay the premium for that as well. But just think about it. Even like the biggest companies in the world, like the biggest tech companies, even they are not all making their own like things. You know, they're buying from third parties and then putting things together. You think these like middle brands, like these kind of mid-sized brands aren't, like, you think they can just have their own supply chain of like making everything in-house? No, like everything comes from a source, and that source more likely than not, more often than not, is coming from China. At some point in the supply chain. Yeah, even if it's not being assembled in China, at some point the raw materials,
some components are coming.
And that's what I found so fascinating, because like some of these like sources are just like families, you know, like kids running around, you know, across the halls and stuff like that.
Yeah. In terms of like the conflict in Ukraine, as a European, like how do you see that playing out? Is that something that is still like really top of mind for many people in Europe? I mean, obviously people in Ukraine, but like people outside of Ukraine, how like much in the ether is it, that
Not
conflict
much.
going on?
No, I mean, like the Israel-Gaza conflict has totally taken over.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, just say, I'm just worried about the trend for full-on war and that sort of stuff. Like I've seen, you know, that as well. So
yeah, sometimes it gets heated because we don't really understand what lens or what perspective the other person is seeing the world through, and because of their own experiences of where they come from and things that they've been through, and you know what, and that I would have no idea about them, right? I've basically come to the realization that pretty much all my political beliefs right now were driven by this one fear of the US and China actually going to war with each other. And in many aspects, we're already in a Cold War, but I mean like a real hot war. And that was kind of a really big revelation to me.
It sort of makes sense, because I've heard from Matt, you've born in America, right? Like you've been brought up.
I grew up in America, yes.
Okay, oh, you grew up in America. Yeah. So you have like a very interesting perspective where you grew up in America, but now you live in China. Yeah. You know, so that's it. What you're saying makes sense to me, because like you're like living in that context very much.
Yeah, I've always like felt like, you know, I've lived on both sides.
You're
right?
a bridge. Yeah.
And I have perspective for both sides, and I have empathy for both sides. So from my perspective, I'm very quick to see like the ridiculousness of a lot of the way people in the States believe and think about China. And it just drives me insane. And sometimes, honestly, I wish I was just more ignorant to these things. I wish I didn't see both sides. I wish I was just one of them and just could just buy into this being captured in this like this belief and and then so I wouldn't have to
propagandize.
I wouldn't have to be frustrated with you know me feeling like I'm alone here, like seeing all this shit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see China going into a hot war with America. Like, I mean, anything's possible in the future, but and progression, it doesn't take much. Like what you were talking to me about, like how like water meandering on a river will create a canyon over time. Like it doesn't take much force. It just takes steady direction and consistency for some big thing to happen, and that can be a good big thing or it can be a bad big thing. And if you're consistently slowly knocking button heads with the two countries, eventually something's going to crack, you know what I mean? And that crack could be big, that could be a big problem, I'm a consummate optimist, try to be, for the most part. So like, obviously I don't see that all the time. But.
Yeah, I mean, and like if you're that polarizing force, you can do some real damage. Like we've seen, we're one of the YouTubers, that's has a very specific view towards China. He's lived in China, he now lives in the US, but he is really making things sound like China is just this very bad place. Like, for example, these EV cars. He made this highlighted video about like the EV cars are on exploding.
And we're not talking about me. We're not talking about me.
Okay. I thought I was like, what?
I was like, what? When did I make that video?
So another YouTuber.
Another YouTuber. Yeah. And so, I mean, like
And is all the content he makes just like all anti-shitting on China stuff?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
We know who we're talking about.
That's what I don't get with these YouTubers. I mean, it happens on both sides. So if you're always just oh, fucking China's the greatest country in the world, like if you look at people's past work and the entire history of that work is just consistently one message, I tune it out.
You already
I already tune it out.
Yeah. That's
because that's not reality.
Yeah.
Reality isn't always just one way of looking at something.
The problem is there's a large audience for those people, and you might tune out, but there's a lot of people that don't.
That will not
no, but I wonder, and I don't know, how much of it is just like, oh, they're taking it as like this is news, like real news to them.
Or funny guy,
or is it just like porn? Like they know it's not real, but they just feel like it's fun to watch, or they feel vindicated. Like I don't know, for whatever reason, it's like pornographic to them.
Yeah,
but it doesn't have to be real. It's just it's gonna like the exposure is gonna make you think it's real, and then me coming to China and seeing that basically the total opposite. Like he's just putting under the rug what is so good about China, which is this electric shift. That is something that I find so impressive. But if you just follow those videos, it's probably the worst thing about China. You think that. You think it's like, that's like really bad and scary and that sort of stuff about China. Well, it's actually like one of the most impressive things I've seen.
Were you ever, before you came to China, and maybe even before you ever met Matt, were you ever convinced, like by watching those videos, did you ever go down that rabbit hole before then?
I have watched a lot of his videos, and I've watched a lot of Matt's videos. I like the beef. I was like, that's maybe my porn sort of like, I like the beef. But I am a type of person that I want to see the real, I know both sides are saying different things, so I really want to know what's going on. And that's when I went on this path, like learning Chinese and doing all of that sort of stuff and moving to Taiwan and now being part of the conversation, which is very cool.
His Chinese makes me want to shoot myself.
Why? Because it's so much better than yours?
Yeah, it's so much better than mine. He'll like look at things. He'll be like reading the characters and stuff, and I'm like, you.
And he just got here.
I inspired him to come here, and he's way past me.
I've learned Chinese. Like I started in high school, so I had Chinese class for 6 years, and at some point I was the only one, so I had like private class for 3 years. So my tones, I've learned like.
So this was in the Netherlands.
It was in the Netherlands.
So it was in high school. They were. You could take Mandarin as a class.
I had one of the few high schools in the Netherlands that offered Chinese class, as opposed to like French or German.
And he was the only student, so he got to sit there with the teacher.
I was the only student, or 2 years. Yeah.
You were so it was that unpopular. Everyone was taking
private class of Chinese for 3 years. I mean, understandably, you'd be pretty good at it.
But I wonder why no one else would take that class.
I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't just as popular. Maybe because it's harder. Which is actually kind of strange because I don't think Chinese is that hard to learn. I mean, hard to write. Well,
Matt hates you even more.
I mean, I'm saying this now on the other side, so that's probably I've probably forgotten how long it took me to get here. But no, so I did that for 6 years, and then I took a long time. I was just traveling. I wasn't practicing my Chinese much, other than sometimes I would meet a Chinese person. I'll be like, oh. 我也会说中文一点点, like that kind of stuff. And then COVID hit, and that's when I was like, like
Dive
Chinese. It's still like I still got this base. I should do something with it. I should like start learning it again. And I opened my Duolingo and I started to do that. And then like I finished the whole Duolingo class and I was like, I want to learn more. And then I started to watch YouTube videos in Chinese. And I got like just very interested in this part of the world in general. And then I came to Taiwan on a student visa. So
Nice.
I finally got there and found a girl and never left. So
Yep.
yeah.
As the
it
story
happens.
goes,
As it
the story
happens.
goes. That's literally every expat story.
I know.
That's verbatim every
I know.
expat story that I've ever met ever. But I'm wondering, like, why did you choose to live in the countryside and not like in Taipei?
Well, no, but I started in a city. It was love that brought me to the countryside.
Oh, so the girl. Okay, going back to the
The girl brought me
got
to
it.
the countryside. But I started in Tainan, actually. I started at Cheng Kung University. That was where the Chinese course was for 3 months.
Okay.
And then I did that, but I also had my job. I'm a software engineer, so I had my job for a Dutch company, and I was doing that remotely.
But I'm wondering because in Taiwan they use traditional Chinese characters.
correct, yep.
Here in the mainland they use simplified. Was that
So
because I'm sure in school you probably learned traditional, right? Not
No,
simplified.
simplified.
You learned simplified.
Yeah.
Wow.
My teacher was from Wenzhou. So she was from like the Chinese. So I had like the Chinese mainland.
that's
like
cool.
we
Oh.
like char and like R. That's like the Beijing accent.
okay.
Accent is what I learned. And then I did Duolingo, which was also simplified Chinese. But then I had to learn the traditional script. So at some point, like a year before I went, I was like, all right, I got to switch it up and I got to learn my traditional. And I went to I watched YouTube videos and any character I didn't know, I would write it down manually and I would write the pinyin and the translation just to like drill myself into this. And it took me I think about a month to like really get used to the traditional script. But I was doing it every
whole
day.
month,
Fuck
huh?
this guy.
No, but I was doing it every day. I was
took
doing
you
like
so
3
long?
hours, 3 hours a day.
He's like, I like the traditional better. It's a lot easier to understand. I'm like, you bastard. It's like,
I mean, there is a system to it.
Yeah,
there is
yeah,
a system to it. There are like a few like those what do you call them, idioms? Like the way the characters are
did
structured.
you know that there's heart inside of, or there's shin inside of I?
I
Like
well,
the-
Aini.
Yeah,
like
of course.
shin is
there's a
inside
heart,
of
yeah,
I.
shin.
No. Not in the simplified one. Only in traditional.
Yeah, in a simplified, it's a simplified stroke.
It's
Yeah.
it's only one stroke.
See, this guy's good at studying.
Let's
He's
kick
good
him
at
out.
school.
Let's kick
I
him out.
guess.
We'll start the real podcast when he leaves.
Yeah. Come on now.
Yeah. But I mean, I've always had a kneck for language learning.
No,
That's
he's
been
smart.
No, that's
He's
awesome.
smart.
man. That's awesome.
yeah.
Growing up, my dad always told me, you know English, you need to improve your Mandarin, right? So you're gonna have those two languages. And he says, if you ever choose to learn a third language, learn Spanish. And the reason why he said that to me, he says, like, based on the numbers, if you know English, Mandarin, and Spanish, you have most of the world's population covered. So that was
Yep.
his justification of like, if you had to only learn 3 languages,
Yeah,
learn those 3 languages, and you'll be able to get around in most of the world.
It's like
by
the
population.
top 3, right? It's
Yeah.
the top 3 most spoken languages are those 3.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, language is a thing. I wish I took more seriously learning languages when I was younger. Because it's such a
We all
superpower.
do. We
Yeah.
all do.
I mean, you guys are in America though, where like English is everywhere, right? Like
We're pros.
English is-
We're
I'm
pros. We're
from-
real good.
Like I'm from Europe, so English is not even my native language. It's Dutch, So I had to learn English at a pretty like young age, and French came along and German, and then I did Chinese. So like,
So you're just showing off now.
well, no, I
He's
mean
like,
German
"No,
and French
you-
is not what I know.
Hakanese,
No.
and then there's Arabic, and you
well,
gotta learn,
as
you gotta
As
learn
if we weren't
Swahili.
impressed enough with his
You gotta learn
Chinese.
Swahili, and then there's
It's just, I guess, I mean, context is a big factor, Like just being in a context where you have to speak. I mean, my girlfriend, she's from Indonesia. At home, she speaks Indonesian, Hakanese. She's Hakanese, so she speaks that with her family. She's learned Mandarin because she's studying in Taiwan, so she's learning that now. And we're speaking English as well, but we're speaking like a mix of all of it. So it's like, languages everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a societal piece to it too. I think depending on where you are in some societies, there's more, in general, not even specifically language, there's generally just more of a curiosity with the rest of the world and just more of an effort to understand what's going on in other parts of the world. growing up in America, because you're propagandized in America, growing up there to feel like, oh, this is the best country in the world. We're number one.
No need to worry about anybody
everywhere
else
is just a shithole. You never leave, because why would you leave the best place in the world? This is fucking Disneyland.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're conditioned to think that, and our curiosity for anything outside of the United States, like, is very low for most people. Now, there are exceptions, of course.
Yeah.
But I think for most people, like, we just don't really care.
The outside's like a novelty, you know?
It's like
watch it on the Discovery
It's like nothing
Channel.
is as important as what's going on in the United States.
A friend of mine I think he was from the UK. He is also a cyclist, and he was in California. And I think he took a train or something and started talking to a girl next to him who was like American. And then he said, "I'm from Europe." And then the girl genuinely asked him, "Oh, there are still dinosaurs in Europe, right?" Like, she thought that.
No.
Come on. That sounds like...
He said it. He said it. I don't know.
That sounds like some hyperbole.
Yeah, that's it.
No, well, he made it sound like... Yeah.
Dinosaurs, like living dinosaurs.
Yeah, basically.
Well, we have the La Brea tar pits. I mean, there are dinosaurs in there, you know?
Maybe she was talking about crocodiles, or basically dinosaurs. I don't know.
I don't know.
Chickens. We got a lot of chickens. Chickens are basically dinosaurs, right? I mean, I've heard people say that. Wild.
So, Matt, being back here, when are you leaving? When are you going back?
Tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow afternoon. I leave it.
Your flight back to the States is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you have plans to come back anytime soon, or what's going on?
If anybody listening is suits this, you can let me know. So, me and Tice, we developed this app. I don't really want to talk exactly about the name of it because it's not completely refined to a T to like sell publicly. But this trip was an opportunity for us to test it, field test it, and work some bugs out. We found out a whole bunch of bugs, which is great. You know, like being able to test something out and see what's broken and what might. It's not broken, just things that need to be tweaked.
Yeah.
Is great. And so we designed this app, and it helps buyers deal with suppliers. It actually helps the suppliers. This is designed for Chinese factories in particular. It's a multilingual app, English and Chinese, that suppliers can use to catalog all of their items and quickly quote those items to their customers in a really clean, beautiful format. Like, so if there's a company out there that has 500 or less items, SKUs, that would be willing to test it out for free. We're offering like just free opportunities to road test the product. You can actually, one of the cool things about it is the designer is like on the team. So like if their product line needs a specific sort of variable that's added to the
it's like a customization.
Like a
for
customization.
Them.
Like they can almost have like a product that's designed specifically for their product line.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll be in China for a little bit more, like here actually pushing that product and trying to grow that. Because we both have, I pitched this idea to Tice 5-6 years ago when he started watching and he started helping me with my website. I was like, I've always had this idea because I go to the Canton Fair every year. I've always dealing with suppliers. I've gone to the Canton Fair as the factory, hanging out with my wife who runs a factory. So I've been a factory liaison salesperson. I've been a buyer. I've been an agent. I've been a videographer walking around the show. I've seen how people work at these shows and how the relationship is when they're trying to either get an order or send out information to a customer in order to get an order later. And I've always felt like there was a big void there for something that could solve that problem in an easy and functional way.
And I was at a point as well where I'm looking for startup ideas myself. Like I actually started my own podcast called the Tice's Tech Track. So it's like a spin-off from Traveling Tice to like Tice's Tech Track.
Okay.
Like just trying out different startup ideas. And this exactly happened when I was in the middle of what is my next idea?
It was a perfect timing.
It was really perfect. Like just... We sort of came together 6 years ago. I mean, at the time, you were traveling. I was just starting. I didn't know what I was doing. And then we sort of moved away from each other. And then now we just sort of like realigned. And it's become like perfect timing.
Yeah.
It's come together real nicely.
And so the product looks great, looks good. And so we're looking to, that's what I've been working on.
Awesome. Are you guys still making travel content? Like what's with that?
Dude, I have a ton of videos coming out on the channel now.
Same channel, Chayo?
Yeah, yeah. I have been so reinvigorated on this trip. Like I really lost. I lost the I lost the vibe or something. I lost my mojo. Over the course of the last couple of years, it's been steadily going down and down and down. And I just
why? Just because life got in the way,
like life, and all of this kind of things, and so coming back to coming back to China, and like really like it's been we've been having a great time, and we've had purpose here. Going to the fairs and stuff like that, and I've just had the camera out the whole time, and we've had a lot of like. Just even in Hangzhou when we're walking around the lake and things are coming and going and people are smiling and people are, grabbing Tice.
What I was saying, he was lighting up all the time. He loves it. He loves the energy. He loves, this type of an atmosphere where things are like just going on. Like we've walked to like areas like in Shenzhen where this new city was being built. Like shopping malls, and with like this is going to be open next year. Whole like big
Dude,
thing. If something like that would happen in the States or even in Europe, that would be big news. Like the city is getting a makeover, but here it's just another thing that's going on.
Insane size stuff, like sky cranes, like blades of grass. It is incredible. If a sky crane went up in my neighborhood in Southeast Michigan, like if it was a big project, more than one or two sky cranes, the whole city would be like. Up in arms about like what is this going to do for the community and la 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 la. And here it's like you'll see like skyscrapers going up.
Yeah,
left and right.
Living
it's
here,
insane.
you get so jaded with it, and I appreciate your perspective coming back because it reminds me that
how special it is.
How special it is. Just like the conversation we were having, and we'll wrap this up. But just like the conversation we were having about EVs, right? I just take so many things for granted when I live here, and I get so. Just like whatever is about it. And I mean, I guess that just comes with, being in a place and
it just
being
comes
in your own
being
bubble.
Your own person. You're in your bubble.
Yeah,
you see the world from that perspective. And, I had been out and then the bubble comes back. And so like that's been really cool.
Yeah. That's always a good fresh reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to. I mean, talking to you guys, I need to get out more. I need to try Anyway, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming on the show. Good seeing you guys.
Okay.
All right, that was Matt. That was Tice. I'm Justin. Be good. Be well. Peace.
See ya.
As the sun will see